Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
the Chainsaw Girls. On today's episode, dude,
I'm so pumped.
I am so excited. This is probably one of the best slashers of all time.
I can't disagree with you.
It is 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The original, baby.
Hell to the motherfucking yeah.
We don't need to tell you that this movie is legendary.
Right.
But when I think about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all I think about is how it was always told to me that this was based on a true story.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do a great job in the opening credits when they go through and they kind of tell you, they set up exactly what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. And it has that documentary sort of feel to it.
Yeah, and it was marketed that way, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Genius, honestly.
The lore since the 70s. So at the time of this recording, this movie can be found on Peacock, Roku, Tubi, probably others too, but those are the ones that I found.
Yes. Nice and accessible. We love that.
Would you like to read the IMDb?
Oh, I surely would. Let me pull this bad boy up. Here we go. 5 friends head out to rural Texas to visit the grave of a grandfather. On the way, they stumble across what appears to be a deserted house, only to discover something sinister within it. Something armed with a chainsaw.
Interesting. That's another long IMDb description.
I actually had to expand it.
Wow.
It's a long one, yeah.
Yeah, they're like telling the whole story. Okay.
Yep. This was directed by Tobe Hooper, and it was written by Kim Henkel and Tobe Hooper. It also had a budget of $80,000 to $140,000, and it grossed $30.9 million.
Holy shit.
Dude.
Some might say that's a success.
Just a bit. Just a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's even, I think pieces of the film are, like the original film, pieces of film, are in like museums and shit.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
There are a total of 9 movies in this franchise at this point.
Whoa, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I definitely have not seen all the sequels, but now I want to.
I'm trying to think of which ones I haven't seen. I think I have seen them all. There's obviously Texas Chainsaw 2, Texas Chainsaw 3.
I love how it's usually 1 through 3, and then they start getting different names.
No, they have different names. Yeah. There's the one in the 90s.
I know there's a 2003 remake with Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel one.
That one's a remake, right?
It is. It's a remake. Yep. And then there's Texas Chainsaw The Beginning. There's Texas Chainsaw Leatherface. There's Texas Chainsaw 2022. And I'm missing one.
Yeah,
I
could pull them up. I wasn't not counting when you were listing them.
I think that's 8. I think I'm missing one more.
We'll go through them probably in the extended version of this episode on Patreon. We'll go into like what we know about the sequels, maybe.
Yeah, I think I've seen them all. I'm just forgetting one, and it's going to drive me absolutely crazy.
You can search for it if you want while I ramble.
Okay.
So this film was marketed as being based on true events to attract a wider audience and act as a subtle commentary on the era's political climate. Though it's questionable, like I said, as a kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a real story. What we're seeing in this movie actually happened, but that's not quite it. So a lot of people say and are aware that this movie is said to be based on the real life crimes of serial killer Ed Gein and also Elmer Wayne Henley. Though the plot of this Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is largely fictional. So yes, Leatherface was not a real person, but you could see, if you know, which we will get into a little bit later, the actual crimes of Ed Gein and Elmer Wayne Henley and how those may have tied into the movie. And we also have quotes from Tobe Hooper himself about the actual inspiration for this movie. So it's not so much that this movie was based on Ed Gein. That's not accurate.
No, agreed.
But we can talk about what was drawn from his actual crimes, which I am glad to hear that the inspiration for this movie was not Ed Gein, because I do feel some type of way when movies are like, oh, this was inspired by this serial killer. I'm like, let's not glorify the serial killers, okay? Let's not glorify real life serial killers. That creeps me out.
Yeah, agreed. And I just wanted to touch on the quotes from.
Yes.
So I'm looking at an interview with Tobe. It's from the website flashbackfiles.com. I'll link everything in the show notes, but he's quoted as saying, our family doctor treated everything from a skull fracture to immunization. He told me that when he was in pre-med school, he skinned a cadaver's face, cured and dried it, and then wore it to the school's Halloween party, and that image stuck. So that was also an inspiration for the Leatherface character, and also Ed Gein and his wild shit that he did.
Right. And yeah, we have more on that. We'll touch on that a little bit later on once we get to like the Texas Chainsaw house and what we're seeing in that house. But yes, Ed Gein, I mean, he's said to inspire a bunch of movies: Silence of the Lambs,
Psycho, yeah.
So it's a widely known case, and you may have heard of it even if you don't know it by name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you have any other fun facts we should get into before we get into the movie, or you want to save them?
I think I'll save them for as we're like kind of going along here.
Okay.
I do want to just shout out the cast really quickly.
Yes.
We've got Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface, Marilyn Burns as Sally, Edwin Neal as the hitchhiker, Alan Danziger as Jerry, Paul Parshin as Franklin, William Vale as Kirk, Terry McKinn as Pam, Jim Sido as the cook / the old man, John Duggan as the grandfather, and the narrator is John Larroquette. And the only reason I'm pointing out all of the cast is this is not a big cast. It's a very small.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of them are very important to the story.
Absolutely.
So, and the actors went through literal hell shooting this, and I feel like we have to shout them out.
I cannot wait to hear what you found in the documentary you watched. I caught the very end of it when she was watching it, but I know you watched way more of it than I did.
Yeah, it was a great documentary. It was called Portrait of a Family, and you can find it on Tubi, and it's great. They go really in depth. The cast goes really in depth with filming, and yeah, I got some interesting things from there.
Hell yeah.
All right, shall we start?
We sure shall. So this movie starts out with a scrolling text, and I feel like that just gives you that, oh my gosh, this really happened feeling.
I love it.
You know, the following events are based on da-da-da-da, that type of thing. And it already gives you a very creepy feeling like you're watching a documentary.
No, 100%. It's like grainy, and his voice specifically, I think it all just kind of makes you feel like it might be real.
Yes, and so we're in August 1973 in this movie. That's where it's set.
Yeah.
And the screen is all black except for sporadic camera flashes. And it's the creepy old camera sound. You know, when it's like the shutter and then
almost like at a crime scene.
Yes,
Like
it is.
Yeah, taking pictures.
And that's actually what we're about to see. So every time that the camera flashes, we see what you can't really tell what it is at first, but then you tell it looks like decomposing bodies.
It does. It looks like rotten, like body parts. And you can hear someone like the sound of like someone cutting something.
Yeah.
I just really love the score and all the sounds in this movie. They're so unsettling, and I feel like they just add so much to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then we see what the camera is taking pictures of, and it is, I think, at least 2 corpses that are in a cemetery, and they're strung up in a very particular way.
Yeah, they're on display.
Yeah, it's very they're already decomposed at this point. It's very unsettling.
Yeah, and so basically there's like a grave robber or grave robbers, and they're robbing and displaying dead bodies.
And we hear the radio in the background telling us what we're seeing and just that. And I do not remember the movie starting off this hot, just with like rotting bodies.
Yeah, right away they kind of, and I love like the opening scene where they tell you exactly what is going to happen in the movie. Like they just spell it out for you, and you're still strapped in, and like you want to know, and you want to see it come to life, right?
Yeah.
One of the news things was 40 cases of Corella in Texas. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh, they mentioned Gary, Indiana in one of the reports.
Do they really?
Yes.
Oh my god, Gary, Indiana.
Which if you have ever driven from Detroit to Chicago, you probably have passed Gary, Indiana.
Absolutely. And it's very just like awful news reports. Like everything, it's very unsettling. There's they talk about that there was a number of deaths starting with a man that jumped off a building and committed suicide. And so these are just all very dark news reports.
Yeah, and the screen is distorted while this is happening. It's like a red screen with these unsettling images you can't quite make out. So just the vibe is being set real hard right here.
For sure, absolutely.
So then we see a van pull
Before
over.
we see the van, we see a dead armadillo. Oh
you know
my
what's so
God.
funny? I almost wrote that in my notes, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to say it, but...
Oh my God. I immediately was like, No.
Yeah, he's like upside down. Poor guy.
It's so sad.
I don't know if I've ever seen an armadillo in real life.
I don't think I have. Maybe at the zoo or something.
Maybe.
Or Ross Geller from Friends.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, then the van is driving down the street.
Yep. He pulls over on the side of the road and someone gets out to help someone in a wheelchair. We'll find out that the person in the wheelchair is Franklin. The guy who's helping him out, I believe that's Kirk. And he's helping him out of the van so he can pee in some bushes. Okay.
Yes, exactly. We're kind of being introduced to our main players here.
Right. They're all in the van pretty much, besides Leatherface.
Yeah.
And then a semi-truck drives by, kicks up like some mud or something, and sends Franklin rolling down this hill, the poor guy.
Poor Franklin.
And then I think it's Pam we see later on. Like that scene is kind of a throwaway scene. I think it's just to show that Franklin is having a rough time.
Yeah, he's not enjoying himself.
No, not at all. And then we cut back to them driving, and I think it's Pam who's talking about astrology.
Yeah, about Saturn being in retrograde.
Yes.
I'm like, I would get along with Pam for real.
Immediately, I was like, this is of note. This is topical for us.
Yeah, right?
Saturn's in retrograde. They're kind of foreshadowing, like, you know.
Like bad shit is about to happen.
Yeah. So can we blame this whole movie on Saturn being in retrograde?
That's exactly what it was. Can I also say, like, Franklin, I have mixed feelings about Franklin.
I think a lot of people do.
He just complains a lot, but I also understand where it comes from because I don't think he wants to be there. But like we're in the van, he's complaining about the heat. He just seems so miserable, and I don't know. Was he forced into going? Did Sally convince him to go?
I think they allude to. He says something later in the movie about, "Come on, Franklin, it'll be a fun time, Franklin." So I think Sally did convince him because Sally's his sister.
Yes,
right,
exactly. Yeah,
and
he's just such a whiner the whole movie.
Yeah, when they get to the house, I'm like, this guy's really having a rough time.
He does make good points, though, I will say. Like, he does throughout the film. He's just his delivery.
Yeah. And I think you found a quote from the director, right? Or something about him talking about how he told Franklin to be, or he told the actor to be the most unlikable.
Yes, to be super, super obnoxious, and he did.
So he was doing it on purpose.
Absolutely, for sure. So, yeah, Saturn's in retrograde. We're in the van. We're pulling up to the cemetery because Sally and Franklin are going to see their grandfather's grave. They want to make sure that Grandpa wasn't dug up.
Yeah.
Okay? Hello, cat.
Yeah, you're getting a little, if you're watching the YouTube video, you're getting a little cameo from my cat Dolly.
Oh, Dolly.
Named after, not Dolly Parton, but Salvador Dali.
Yeah. Are you purring into the mic?
Yeah, you might hear some cat purrs.
So there's also a man on the ground who's like absolutely hammered and he's like laughing to himself, but he's also saying things like, I can see they think that, you know, they're not listening to me, essentially alluding to the fact that he knows something that they don't know and nobody's listening to him because he's like a crazy old man.
And Franklin is witnessing this happen.
Yes, exactly. And then the crew, oh,
my Dolly almost fell.
I know. I felt him
he tried to step on the blanket.
Himself.
He thought that was the couch there, but nope, that was just the blanket hovering.
So Sally and the crew get back in the van. Grandpa's fine. His grave was not dug up, according to the police officers there.
Yes. And so, you know, they continue their drive and they smell something horrible on this drive. And they realize that they're passing an old slaughterhouse. And Franklin is like, yeah, that's where Grandpa used to sell his cattle. So we're learning more about like the family lore. They're going to like a family owned home is what they're looking for.
Yes. And also this is another reason why I'm just not a fan of Franklin. He just goes on and on about how they kill the cows.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
That makes so much sense why you don't like him now, because I did write that down that he's talking about this in a very graphic way and it's grossing everyone out in the van.
And he just sounds elated while he's explaining it.
He's a little too excited about how they get slaughtered. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, it's just sad. Like, yeah. I don't know. I actually used to, when I lived in Toronto, there was a slaughterhouse in a really dense area of the city, and anywhere close by, it smelled awful.
Yeah, I don't know why. It makes so much sense, but I never put that together that a slaughterhouse would smell bad, and I don't know why.
It's honestly like, I don't know. Obviously, you know, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, of course.
It's just so disturbing. So yeah, so that's why Franklin got on my shit list real quick.
Makes sense. And so here they pick up a hitchhiker because it's the 70s and they don't know not to do that shit anymore.
And it was mixed. Some of them were like cool with it and some of them were like, I don't think you should.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we can thank this movie amongst, you know, also many serial killers in real life for us now never,
oh hell no,
never being willing to pick up a hitchhiker.
Not a chance.
So this hitchhiker is actually credited in the movie as Hitchhiker.
Hitchhiker,
That's his name.
Uh-huh.
He has a big mark on his face. It's either like a burn or a birthmark.
It's a birthmark.
It is a birthmark. Okay.
Yeah.
He tells him how, his family worked at the slaughterhouse too.
Yep.
He's an interesting looking character, and he is a butcher.
To say the least, he's interesting looking.
I know.
His mannerisms, like he kind of is like laughing and smiling, and like he just doesn't look right.
Yes.
If that, you know what I mean?
There's a lot going on with this guy.
There's a lot going on. Like, it's like he knows something they don't know.
Oh, he definitely does.
Yeah.
And so it seems here that he's a butcher. He's definitely slaughtering the cows himself.
Yes.
He's really proud of it, and he enjoys it way too much, even more than Franklin.
And he prefers the old method of killing the cows with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, and that's important to note because it's going to come back later. He starts pulling out Polaroids of cows that he has slaughtered.
Dude.
Or at least we think it's cows. We actually don't know.
We don't know, yeah, but
like,
probably
what?
is. Yeah.
And he's like, take a look at these pictures. And
I know the girls are like, can we please talk about something else?
why do you have Polaroids of your slaughtered cows?
Anything else.
What?
Really?
In your pocket? Okay. And so now the hitchhiker takes a pocket knife that Franklin has, and he takes it in a real casual way and just starts cutting his own palm.
Oh, yeah.
And he starts laughing while he's doing it.
Oh, he's having a good time.
And then he just hands it back to Franklin.
And he also, like, he looks really bummed about, like, that they didn't want to look at his pictures. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
He looked like he was, like, so excited to show them. And then when they weren't into it, he looked really bummed. And that's when he took the knife and cut his hand.
Like, okay, well, I guess I'll do this instead. Like, he's showing all his party tricks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's like a magician. He's like, look at all these tricks I can do.
Okay, they didn't like that one. Let's try this one.
And then he pulls a camera off of his, like, whatever. He's got, like, an old-fashioned camera. Mm-hmm. And he starts peering through, like, the little hole. What is it called?
Like the lens?
Like the looking, when you look through, is it the lens or the
viewfinder?
Viewfinder, maybe? Yeah. And he's like looking through and he's kind of tilting the camera around and just be like, can you imagine picking this guy up?
Oh my gosh, no, I can't. He also pulls out a razor, or like a straight razor. And he's like, I have a knife.
Look at mine. Like, oh,
viewfinder. It is viewfinder.
Viewfinder. Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, what is it called? And so, yes, no one knows what to say to him at this point. And he tries to take a picture of Franklin.
He does.
Right?
He takes a picture of Franklin. Yeah.
And then he's like, you can just drop me off. My house is right down the road. And they're like,
he's trying to lure them to the house right away. He's like, oh, since we're going this way, would you mind just taking me to my house? And they're like, Franklin's like, I don't think so. And then he's like, also give me $2 for that picture. It's a nice picture.
He invites them to dinner as well.
Like, what a carny.
Oh
like,
my
how
gosh.
Carny.
I could picture an old time wrestler doing that shit.
No, same.
Of like, hey buddy, come to the table, snaps a picture. All right, no, that's $5. I took the picture of you. You got it. Like, that is so carny.
Dude, that's literally exactly what I was picturing.
And they're like, nah, dog.
They're like, we ain't paying you $2. Also, $2 in the 70s was probably what, like $10?
Probably.
So he's like obviously disgruntled by this. He pulls out a piece of tinfoil out of his little satchel. And what looked to be ashes, but I didn't know what they were.
I assume gunpowder.
Oh, gunpowder. That makes sense because it's flammable. So he basically pours the gunpowder on this picture on the tinfoil and then it lights it on fire.
Yep, just makes a little explosion in the van.
And then he just takes it, he like folds it up and he's like, and back into the satchel.
He's literally like the shittiest magician.
Yes. Look what I did.
Oh my gosh. Then he takes his straight razor and cuts Franklin's forearm.
Yeah.
And so now they're like, okay, we've had enough.
Yeah, they push him out of the van.
You gotta go.
They push him, and then he's obviously very upset about this, and he's like kicking the side of the van and yelling. But it's interesting that right from the hop, he's trying to get them to go to the house.
Yes, he's trying to lure them, which I will say that you could say is maybe the inspiration or why people linked the serial killer Elmer Wayne Henley to this, because that's what he did. He lured teenagers to be assaulted and murdered. That was like multiple. It's disgusting, of course.
Oh my God.
But maybe that's where people linked that. And I have a quote later on in my notes too, or more information about that. But I could see that there, like, oh, okay, maybe the luring is what they drew from that.
Whoa, that's interesting. Yeah, I want to hear more about that for sure.
Yeah. And so the driver, which I did not
Jerry?
write Jerry, yes.
Yeah.
Jerry is like, that's the last damn hitchhiker I pick up. And I wrote, you and the rest of the world, pal.
Yeah, exactly. Franklin is crying. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And you know how I feel about people crying.
Though he just did get cut with a razor. I imagine that's just a little traumatic. You're like, fuck this guy. Why are you crying? You just got cut. It's superficial. Get over it. It's not like your organs or something.
Oh my God. Okay, so the crew's very shaken up. Franklin obviously shaken up. Sally, like, she's like wrapping his arm. And is it Pam? Pam keeps talking about horoscopes and
The Capricorn's horoscope.
yeah, and basically like Franklin's horoscope is like a big bummer.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. And at one point she says, whoever she's reading it to.
It's Franklin.
Franklin.
Yeah.
Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. She says, you may think what you're experiencing is not real, but pinch yourself and realize that it is.
Dude.
Very ominous when you know what's about to happen.
Love it. Love it.
So they stop by this random, I think it's like a gas station.
It's a gas station,
right?
but they're out of gas.
Yeah, they have one pump and they don't have gas.
Yeah, they don't have gas until the morning. Also, can I just say, and we talked about this in All Hallows Eve, like, I would never pull over to a gas station like that.
If I could avoid it, but I think they really don't have a choice.
You got to fill up at half tank, always. For me, it's always half tank.
Oh, especially if you're on a road trip in the middle of nowhere.
Dude.
Yeah, if you're driving through Texas.
Dude, I had to pull over like 2 nights ago. It was midnight. I really didn't want to pull over, but I had to. And I stopped in Grimsby because it's well lit.
Okay.
You know Casablanca exit?
No.
Oh, it's on the QEW. Anyways, it's like a huge, service station, but
Okay.
it's super well lit.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I waited and waited just so I could go to that one.
Oh, yeah.
Because, yeah.
Can I
scary.
tell you, one time I was taking a road trip from like Orlando to LA, which is a crazy road trip.
Whoa.
You drive all the way through Texas and Texas lasts forever.
Yeah.
We had to stop at night at a middle of nowhere gas station like this that had like 2 pumps. And the gas station was closed, but you could still use the pump, but you couldn't go inside. So no one was there.
Oh, no.
And someone else pulled up behind us. I was like ready, like we gotta be ready to just book it.
Yeah.
But it was fine. Everything was fine.
But it's scary.
But it was scary.
And imagine being alone, though.
Oh yeah, thank God there was another person with me. But holy shit,
Dude, that's really scary. Okay, so there's no gas at the gas station. It's not going to be filled until tomorrow. One of the attendants starts cleaning the windshield for them. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yo, could we get some directions? And the guy kind of helps him out a little bit. And then they are just like, all right, we're going to get back on the road.
Yeah, they're looking for the house that Franklin says his father owns.
Correct. Yes.
And the guy in there, which we'll find out is the cook.
Is the cook. Yep.
He's like, we got good barbecue here. Why don't you just stay here? He's trying to get him to stay.
Yes. So now we have another person trying to lure them to the house.
Right. And Franklin asks Kirk while they wait in the van, do you think you could do that to yourself? Like talking about cutting his own hand. And I wrote it down because I was like, is this foreshadowing? Is Kirk going to have to like cut himself out of something? He didn't.
I wonder, like, Franklin seems like morbidly curious about things.
He does. He definitely does.
Yeah.
And so they also notice that the hitchhiker has marked their van with some type of blood, and they wonder if it's like a specific symbol.
I think Franklin is like really worried about that. That's why it's like he drives me crazy, but he also makes really good points, and he's detail oriented,
Yeah.
which I appreciate.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I don't think he was making a specific marking. It wasn't like the mark of Leatherface, but he just happened to like wipe his blood all over the van.
Yes.
So maybe he was marking it and the old man saw that.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're right for sure. So they pull up to a really sketchy looking house, which I assume is Franklin and Sally's dad's house.
Yeah, it was.
It's dilapidated.
It's like completely run down.
It's like no one's been living there for a solid 15 years for sure.
Yeah.
And Sally and Franklin are, well, not Franklin because Franklin's having some issues, but Sally is reminiscing about growing up there,
Right.
about where her room used to be.
Franklin is trying to get into the house. And I felt bad for him here.
I did too.
Because he is in a wheelchair. This is not a wheelchair accessible building.
Not at all. Yeah.
And he's trying to get into the house. They all left him. They weren't
did.
helping him.
Yeah.
And he's like rolling over the sticks and stones and everything that's like overgrowth. He is having trouble even getting into the house, and they're all inside laughing.
Laughing and having a good time.
Yeah.
I want to say it's either Kirk or Jerry noticed like a spider infestation. One thing I really love about this movie too is how grainy it is. And the visuals in it, they do like a lot of close-ups. They hold the shot on a lot of, like, I love it.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like a documentary. You know what I mean? And it's just unsettling. You're just waiting for like shit to hit the fan.
Yes, shit's gonna go down, and you're like, okay, when is it gonna happen?
Yeah, totally.
So Kirk and Pam decide to go find a swimming hole that Franklin had told them about, which also I felt bad for Franklin here because he's just like, go have fun. I'll just sit here down on the main floor by myself.
He was also like, blowing raspberries and like kind of crying as he was running into things.
Oh yeah, he has a little breakdown, and I see why. Like he's really
he's having a hard time.
Yes,
but he's also insufferable. You know what I mean?
He also notices a pile of like random bones, feathers. There are some bones strung up in this house that are like made into a decoration. So it's put there intentionally.
Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm. And he also is like, he cries for Sally. Like he, you know, because that's again, the thing about Franklin is he's noticing things that the other people aren't noticing. He's paying attention to things that the other people aren't. And I think part of the reason why is because he's by himself, because he doesn't have it's not accessible for him.
Yeah, and he's not distracted with laughter and mirth.
Right. No, it's true. And I think he is just a very like inquisitive person. Like he likes to like, you know, figure shit out.
For sure.
That's how it comes across to me.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
So Kirk and Pam, they do reach another house on the way, and Kirk is like, you know what? We should actually go see if they can sell us some gas.
Yeah, he's like, I'll even trade my guitar for it.
Yeah. And she's like, I don't think they want your guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can hear a generator running, so they're like, okay, someone's here.
Yes, the house looks fucking wild.
It looks just as dilapidated as Franklin's dad's house, and someone is living in this one.
Absolutely. It looks very like when they're walking around the property, for example, they see like cars, like a whole bunch of like old cars hidden underneath like nets and tarps and shit.
Yeah,
which is super sketchy.
But you're like, oh, maybe they're mechanics. I don't know.
Right, but like it is like, oh, that's
why you got all these random cars that are clearly not working?
Yes, it almost, to me, the property almost looks a little bit like a maze. Like
and
it's
like
disorienting. Yeah, in a junkyard. Yeah, totally.
So Kirk knocks on the door, and something falls off the porch. This was just weird and creepy. So I don't know if it was from the door or like from a decoration, but something falls onto the porch, and it appears to be a human tooth.
Yes, actually, I posted on Instagram.
Okay,
as a teaser, I said, "What movie are we covering?" And I can't believe it, how many people were like, "Texas Chainsaw."
Oh hell yeah!
Just off the tooth.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have guessed that just off the tooth. So I mean, now I would, but not if I hadn't watched it recently. So he hands it. He sees what it is. He hands it to Pam.
I know, and like as a joke though, right?
He's trying to fuck with her. Yeah. He's like, here, I got something for you. And of course she's upset by it. But I'm like, why are you not a little concerned that a human tooth just fell onto a porch?
Oh no, 100%.
Why did that not shock you?
The fact that these people just keep walking into this house is, I don't know, is that a 70s thing?
I think so. Well, leaving your door open, I don't know. Maybe people do that nowadays, but not me.
In the, I could see in the country, definitely.
Yeah.
Couldn't be me.
Small town, sure.
But like, I would never just walk into someone's house.
No. Oh, no. I think that probably was a more 70s thing than now for sure.
I get it. They need gas, but it's like.
Yeah, so no one answers the door and he's knocking, but the door's open. So he's like, someone's home.
Yeah.
So he pokes his head in. He starts yelling, hello, hello. Nobody answers. You can see in the distance, there's a room, a door that's open. There's like red walls, a bunch of like animal skulls on the wall.
Yeah.
But they're in the middle of nowhere. So you're like, yeah, sure. Deer heads and
hunter, whatever. Yeah.
You hear a pig squealing, or what sounds like a pig squealing. Mm-hmm. And so Kirk is like, oh, someone's in here. So he decides to run in to get someone's attention. And yeah, you're like, why would you walk in their house?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
But I guess he's just really desperate to get gas so they're not stranded. And he knows someone's in there. So he runs in there and he is met.
I'm looking at you so disturbed. I'm like, I still don't get it. Why would you walk into this
I know, I
house?
don't know. But he is met by Leatherface.
Oh boy, is he a tall, big man.
He is huge. So in this movie, in the original, he's supposed to be 6'4", about 300 pounds.
Yes, and he's wearing lifts in his cowboy boots. The actor Gunnar Hansen, he's wearing 2-inch lifts in his cowboy boots to make him like 6'7" or 6'5", something like that.
Yeah, I think the actor was 6'4".
Yeah.
So I wrote down like, oh, I did not think that Leatherface was going to appear so quickly in this movie. But then I paused it and I was already halfway through.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this movie moves fast.
It really, the second it starts, you're just hooked in.
I think it's because they start hot with those dead bodies.
No,
and I was not
real.
expecting it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, oh, we're actually halfway through. This is good. It's flowing.
No, for sure.
So Leatherface, who is wearing a skin mask, and an apron, like he's a butcher.
Yep.
He knocks Kirk out with some type of hammer, I think. Kirk is on the ground.
Oh, it's
twitching.
like it's a sledgehammer that they use for the cows.
The sledgehammer, yeah. It just looks like a regular hammer in his hands because he's so big.
So yeah, he gets hit with a fucking sledgehammer and he's twitching on the ground.
Yes, and Leatherface just drags him away.
Dude, it is so unsettling.
So it's important to note in this scene, there is no music, jump scares. nothing that you would expect in a scene like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes it feel more real, and it's unsettling because it's less flashy.
100%. It
So
feels
it's-
like a documentary. It feels like we're walking in on someone actually getting brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Without all the flashy shit.
Yeah.
You know? And then he slams his huge door.
Yeah, slams the door shut. That's iconic, right?
Dude, I went to Halloween Horror Nights quite a few years ago into a Texas Chainsaw house. One, it smelled horrible. And they had the whole house set up, and they had his like sliding door thing.
I think I went into that same house.
I'm pretty sure we went together.
Was that the year we went together?
Yeah.
I've been so many times that I can't tell you which year had which house, but we should go this year.
Oh, I haven't been in years. I would love to.
I have gone every year in a row, except last year I didn't go and I was sad about it, but this year I would love to go.
No, we have to. Let's do it. Okay.
Okay, so now Pam doesn't know what happened, okay? She's outside waiting for him. She's like, what the hell's going on? So she's like, all right, well, I'm going to go find Kirk. I know he went inside this house.
boy.
So she goes inside.
No.
Now, she doesn't go straight where that door that Leatherface just slammed is. She goes the other way.
Yes.
And she ends up in a room full of feathers, random bones.
So many feathers. Like just a chicken in a cage.
in a very small cage that's like suspended from the wall.
You know I was disturbed by the
Oh,
cage.
I already knew. And some very big bones on the ground that could definitely be like femurs from a human.
Yes, I put in parentheses very Ed Gein.
Yeah,
Because there's
very
like there's a lot of like bones, teeth, there's like weird furniture. It all just looks very an oddity store.
Oh, it does look like an oddity store.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can just touch a little bit on Ed Gein and what
Yeah,
he
please.
actually did here.
Yep.
So he did make chairs made with human skin. He made skulls turned into soup bowls and ashtrays. He's known for having made a belt out of nipples.
Oh yeah.
He made a curtain pole consisting of a pair of woman's lips sewn onto a string. Possibly the most well-known is the lampshade made out of human skin. That did happen. I also do want to note that the majority of these things that he was making, it was the result of grave robbing. However, he did admit to murdering 2 people, Bernice Wooden and also Mary Hogan. I think it's important to say their names. He is suspected of having murdered more, but he only admitted to 2.
Right.
But he was a grave robber, and we're not going to go too deep into his case because that's a whole hours long
I feel like
discussion.
that's its own episode. It was in the
Right.
1950s, yeah?
I don't remember exact date, but I know it was in Wisconsin. And I know when people think of Ed Gein or like Texas Chainsaw, they mostly think of the lampshade made out of human skin and then also the body that was strung upside down, which was Bernice Wooden. And he also made masks out of women's faces, Leatherface.
Yeah.
So you can see where inspiration was drawn there. I hate even calling it inspiration, but you can see similarities, I should say.
For sure, yeah. And like the the interview that I read, Toby Hooper does say that some of it was Ed Gein and some of it was the doctor that he had as a child.
Right.
So interesting.
And so I did read somewhere that Hooper did recall seeing convicted serial killer Elmer Wayne Henley's arrest and shocking acts plastered all over television sets in San Antonio, which makes sense that that's maybe where people think it was inspired by him, because it's kind of like the opening scene where we see all the shocking news reports and we're hearing the radio. So maybe that's why people link Elmer Wayne Henley to this movie as well.
So Toby Hooper does talk about like when he watched the local news, how it was very graphic and it lacked sentimentality, that it was really brutal. He said there was like coverage of like he saw showing brains spilled all over the road. And it led to his belief that man was the real monster here, just wearing a different face. So I put a literal mask on the monster in my film, he's quoted as saying.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not hell yeah for that, but I love that you got a quote from him. That's awesome.
Yeah, very interesting. And he says his intentional misinformation that the film you're about to see is true was a response to being lied to by the government about things that were going on all around the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
I find that so fascinating to break down what the director was actually going for and things like that, because
Sure.
of all the rumors about this movie. Like, oh, it was true and it was based on this and that.
Yeah.
So to actually hear from him, like this is what inspired it, I think is very interesting.
I think so too. And I mean, I thought it was real when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. And I can only imagine what the news was showing back then.
Oof,
That's
I mean,
That's
it's
so
bad now, but imagine back then too.
to actually show like crime scenes, that's so insensitive.
It's
But they're just like,
terrible.
well, this is what happened.
Yeah,
Here are these crime scene photos.
right.
So
God, it's so terrible.
I
Oh
know.
my God.
So Pam is in this room. We see what appears to be like a daybed fashioned with human bones. Like he really, Pinterest wasn't a thing at the time, but if it was, he got that idea from
Some
Pinterest.
inspo, eh?
Yeah. And then we see like skulls hanging and hand bones and random, I said random. I was going to say random animal.
Yeah.
Random animal bones like turtle shells. They're hanging from the ceiling. They're strewn about the room.
Oh, I have a little tiny note about the animals.
Okay.
So they wanted to use like fake animals. Obviously, they don't want to use real animals. What ends up happening is they couldn't get fake animals.
Okay.
So Toby Hooper asked the art director, his name was Bob Burns, to find something, right? He said, just figure this out, please. So on the day that they shot the dinner scene,
Okay.
a dump truck pulls up, to the house. It had, it was full of animal cadavers.
Like roadkill?
No, cats and dogs that had been euthanized. Yes. And they had to pump them full of formaldehyde on the set to keep them from like rotting on the set. And I mean, we'll talk about this later and we'll talk about how bad it smelled on set.
Oh.
But yeah, they were so desperate. I think they were looking for taxidermied animals.
Yeah.
So maybe not like stuffed animals, but like I think so. And instead they were given like dogs and cats that had just been euthanized.
That is wild. I thought you were just going to say like, yeah, so he had to go out in the woods and find some roadkill.
No. I mean, it's almost that, right? But he said that they had 1,000 pounds of dead animals. And in the movie, you can see someone getting rid of something like this.
Oh my gosh. It's funny because it's not funny, but my next note is about the room Pam is in. I wrote, that place looks like it stank at the very least.
Dude, to get rid of these animals at the end of I'm assuming like at the end of the shoot.
Yeah.
They piled them all up. They piled them all up, poured gasoline on it, and lit it up. Apparently.
Wow.
This is all from this interview that I read. So,
and we'll of course link everything in the show notes.
Of course, yeah. But just to give you an idea of what that set was like, the set decorating was like.
Holy shit. So Pam.
Oh, they also had real human bones too. There were a couple of like cadaver bodies also.
That they just got from like a medical.
Couldn't tell you.
They didn't specify where they got the human bones from?
I didn't look that deep into it, but there were definitely human skeletons also on the set. I think in the dinner scene primarily.
Oh, I was going to say, I wonder if that was a femur then on the floor. I don't know.
Yeah, there's probably a mix of like real bones and fake bones. Because don't forget, they had such a low budget that, you're really DIYing it, I guess.
I was going to say, like, if you have such a low budget, it's probably easier to get real ones than to create fake ones
Right.
and pay for them.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So Pam is upset by this, probably because the whole fucking set stinks. I don't know. Just of like rotting animals. And she runs downstairs and is screaming, of course.
Mm-hmm.
She's very disturbed. And Leatherface snatches her ass up.
Dude. It's horrifying. She's screaming. She's trying to get away from him, but he's got her. She almost makes it out the front door.
Oh, it's so frustrating. She's almost out the door. I think that's it was a meme a while ago of like, find someone who never stops fighting for you or something. I don't know, but it was like a picture of that, of him dragging her back into the house. Like he just snatches her up in like one arm by the waist, I think.
And dude, I think also what makes this movie scary is it's daylight.
Yes, it's broad daylight. It's just in the middle of nowhere.
Dude.
Where no one can hear her scream. So the height of Leatherface does vary throughout the movies because of the different height of the actors. But here I think we already touched on, real actor was like 6'4". He wore lifts to make him about 6'7", right?
He did, yep. Mm-hmm.
And he picks her up, brings her into that room, and he just hangs her on a meat hook, just sets her back right on the meat hook.
Yeah.
It's really important to note here that we don't see the meat hook go in.
Nope.
I was actually surprised at how little blood and gore they show with the actual acts of a lot of the killings.
Yeah, a lot of the killings, yeah.
Right?
For sure. Uh-huh.
And so I know in the documentary that we were watching, the actor I think that plays Hitchhiker, he mentions that he has won a lot of bets over the years because people swear up and down, if they saw the movie only a couple times, they swear up and down, oh yeah, the hook goes right through her.
Yeah, you see it and you don't.
He is like, no, you don't.
You don't.
You don't see the hook go through her. You don't see Kirk getting chopped up with a chainsaw right after this, but your imagination fills in the blanks.
Absolutely. It's done in such a way that like I really do think it's because one, it's horrifying, but the actors screaming, I think, plays such a huge part of it because you really feel the terror in them.
Especially with Sally later on.
The close-ups of her eyes and stuff like that. It's really scary. But I did want to point out how they did that stunt. So the actress was wearing like a harness made out of stockings. And it kind of went up her legs, like each leg's up around her waist, and they ran a wire up her back. And then they flipped the hook around so that when she's hooked onto it, like basically you're hooking the harness onto the hook, but it's actually backwards so that you obviously wouldn't get the hook up her back.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting how they went about doing it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's very interesting. Yeah, when you see her set on there, you know, she's set and there's like an abrupt stop. So it gives that illusion that she's being hooked.
Yes, and I believe there was like something that they had that stopped it to give that effect.
Yeah, he does talk about that in the documentary too.
I thought that was really neat. And so she's hanging there, obviously with a hook in her back and witnessing him cutting up Kirk with the chainsaw.
Chainsaw, yeah. I think it's the first time we see the chainsaw in this movie.
Crazy.
And it's interesting because sometimes there are movies that I'm told about and I feel so disturbed by the whatever I'm being told that happens in the movies that I feel like I have to see it because my imagination is probably doing more damage than what they can actually show me on film.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I feel like I just need to watch it and see what they show.
For sure.
Because our imaginations are infinite.
It does. It fills in the blanks. Also, Gunnar could not wash his clothes. He only had two outfits, the one that he's wearing now and the one and the suit, and he could not wash them. They wouldn't let him wash them for continuity reasons. Okay. So he smelled fucking terrible the whole shoot. Actually, everyone did, but
Leatherface.
He specifically smelled really bad.
And so I guess they shot in order then. If it was just gradually getting dirtier and dirtier.
Yeah, because the dinner scene, it took 26 to 36 hours to shoot. Yeah, and I think they shot that pretty close to the end.
Okay.
So
Sally and Franklin are waiting in the van with Jerry as well, but Jerry's like, all right, Kirk and Pam should have been back by now. I'm going to go find them. So he, of course, finds the house, tries knocking. No one is answering again.
Yeah, and he goes pretty much right for the house, which I think is interesting. Franklin is really nervous and he keeps asking if the hitchhiker is going to come back and like kill them.
Yeah.
He won't stop asking Sally questions and Sally's like starting to get really irritated.
Yeah.
I also want to point out that Sally's bell bottoms, I love them.
Yeah.
I actually wore bell bottoms like that at AEW for one of my outfits.
I think I remember the exact pair.
Dude, I freaking love a high waist bell bottom.
Hell yeah.
She looks bomb.
And this was like the time when that was peak fashion, okay? It wasn't just old becoming new. It was like, this is the new shit.
Dude, yes, love it. A lot of the 70s look ugly as shit, but some of the fashion, man, you know?
So Jerry hears some weird noises inside the house. He thinks I think it sounded kind of like a woman. Closed captioning said it was giggling, but I don't think it sounded like giggling. I don't know.
It's Leatherface, like making noises.
Okay.
But he apparently was supposed to sound like a pig squealing, but he couldn't. So they dubbed it over.
Got it. Okay, so the pig squealing earlier was Leatherface.
It was supposed to be Leatherface, yeah. And he was originally going to be speaking gibberish throughout the film. And he did a couple of takes like that. And Tobe Hooper was like, nah, we can't, this is not working.
Okay.
And so then they made him more like mute.
I could see that because when he does talk later, I was like, what? We'll talk about it when we get to it, but I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, so originally they had it written that he would be talking in gibberish.
Okay.
Didn't work out though.
So Jerry hears something. He goes inside the house and he goes into the room where Sally was. No, I'm sorry. And he goes into the room where Pam was, but everyone's gone.
Can I say in my notes, I said, why does everyone just walk into this fucking house?
No, for real.
They all just walk in.
Okay. Can I tell you my hot take? I feel like Leatherface is the baby face.
No, I know. He's freaked out.
He's scared and he's defending his home.
Okay, so right after the scene, okay, we'll get to it. We'll get to it in a second.
Yeah.
So Jerry's walking around in Leatherface's room. He sees the hook, he sees kind of like where Kirk was, I was going to say disassembled.
Dismembered.
Disassembled.
He was disassembled, though.
He's Lego. And then he notices a giant freezer.
And there's rattling.
There's rattling in the freezer. So he opens it up and we find a half dead, half frozen Pam.
Yeah. She looks dead at first, but then she jolts up. Okay.
Yes.
And then before Jerry can really do anything, Leatherface comes in and he knocks Jerry down with that sledgehammer.
Dude, he lets out the most horrific cry.
Ugh.
Oh, it made my skin crawl. There's something about, and I mentioned this in the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about someone dying in a violent way and reacting to it in like a terrifying sense of like screaming or like he's killing me or like whatever it is. I find that in horror movies just really, really freaks me the fuck out.
Yeah, for me it's like the guttural sounds people make, like Sally is going to make at some point, and it does not. I can't.
Dude, 100%. So he smashes Jerry over the head with this sledgehammer, and then you'll notice Leatherface starts kind of like running around a little bit, and he is scared here. And even Gunnar Hansen is quoted as saying that he's terrified.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know where these people are coming from. He's looking out the window. He's really trying to figure out like what is happening here.
He's distraught.
He's very distraught. We get a strong close-up of what his face actually looks like. His teeth. He's kind of licking his lips. You get a really good look at the mask, the skin mask.
Yeah, but you can see his eyes. You can see his actual mouth. And he puts his head in his hands at one point. Like, he is upset.
He's distraught,
and this is where I was like, oh, like from his point of view, he's like, these people keep breaking into my house.
I mean, I've always sort of felt that way about Leatherface, that he... I think he's heavily influenced by his family. His family tells him what to do.
Right.
They've been his caretakers. And I don't think he has the ability to kind of see past that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Make his own decisions.
100%. So I do think he is like a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
Which it's crazy to say. He's a chainsaw,
right.
Wielding.
Now, I haven't watched the sequels or the ones that I have seen. I haven't seen him in a long time, so I don't know how he changes, throughout them. But here in the original, I feel like he's a baby face.
Yeah, he's like more. It's interesting because in the 2022 reboot, he just seems like he has like blood hungry.
He's more malicious.
Yeah, that one is.
I assumed.
That one is pretty. I mean, I loved it because it's just banana pants.
Okay.
But a lot of people that are like Texas Chainsaw purists that like love it.
Okay.
Hated it.
So now it is dark, and Franklin and Sally are still in the van.
Yes, and Sally's like hammering on the horn.
Oh yeah, Franklin's like, stop it.
Yeah, Franklin is really freaked out. He's the only one, in my opinion, that really is seeing how concerned they should all be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want. So Sally wants the flashlight. She wants to go look for her friend. She's like, I'm not leaving without Kirk and Jerry and Pam. I'm not going anywhere without them. I want the flashlight. And Franklin is pleading with her, like, let's just stay here. Let's just stay at the van. And if they don't come back in a couple minutes, then, we'll go get help or we'll go whatever. And she is getting so annoyed by him.
Yeah, she also realizes that Jerry took the keys.
He realizes that Jerry took the keys.
Oh, that Franklin does?
Franklin is like, let's just go. He wants to leave.
Yes.
So then he goes around and he checks, and that's when he says, the keys are gone. They have the keys.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't think Sally was motivated about getting the keys.
Yeah.
She seemed way more concerned with finding her friends.
Yeah.
Whereas Franklin, I'm a Franklin. We need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
We'll come back for them.
Because you can call for help. Like, if you don't have like a weapon, you don't know what you're getting into.
Dude.
Like, why wouldn't you, if you can call for help, call for help?
Listen, I told you about the time that I was on the whitewater rafting trip.
Yeah.
Listen, every man for themselves.
You got to go watch that clip on our YouTube if you haven't, or Instagram, because it is up.
No, but for real, like, I think this is where I was on Team Franklin, because I was like, he actually has a good idea.
You feel like he's using common sense.
Yes, exactly.
And Sally's like, I'm going to go find them. And she wants to go alone because she's like, Franklin, I can't push you down that hill. And he's like, no, you're not leaving me here. That's another common sense moment of like, I'm coming with you.
100%. Yeah, I would go with her too. I'd be complaining the whole time though.
Right. So they, of course, see the only light in the distance, which is that house, which is the Texas Chainsaw House,
Yikes.
where unbeknownst to them, all of their friends have met their fate. And Sally is like, I hear something when they're in the woods. Okay, so they stop. And then boom, Leatherface is outside now.
Dude, with his fucking chainsaw.
Yes, and I felt like this went 0 to 100. I mean, maybe not 0 because we've already seen other people die, but in the woods, it felt like out of nowhere. I mean, it was out of nowhere. Leatherface pops up and starts cutting Franklin with the chainsaw.
Dude.
And he's stuck. That really just
Me too.
sat with me in a disturbing way.
Dude, me too. Me too. I mean, like, low key, he was driving me crazy, but I also felt terrible.
Yeah, he's stuck in the wheelchair and if Leatherface is just going to town with this chainsaw, which of course, once again, you don't see. That was another thing that the actor who played Hitchhiker mentioned was people think that the chainsaw just cuts that wheelchair in half. That's not what happens.
Isn't that so funny?
Our mind just fills in those blanks.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can see from like behind Franklin, so you know what's happening. You just don't see the gore.
Exactly. It's the way that they shoot it is really like, it's clever.
Yeah.
You know?
And
great.
Sally books it here. And I mean, there was nothing she could have done for Franklin. At this point, he was already gone.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Leatherface is like, I'm going to cut you. No, it was too late already.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And now we have a chase through the woods. Classic.
Oh boy.
He chases her all the way to the house. And this is prolonged, by the way. This goes on for a while.
And it's really dark. Like, that's the thing, too. Like, because it's like a dark, grainy film, you can see what's happening, but it's also kind of disorienting. It's hard to really tell what's happening, except that he's obviously chasing Sally.
Yeah. And poor Sally thinks that she's running into a house for help. But of course, she's going right where he wants her. Mm-hmm. And she goes upstairs. She's trying to ask for help. She's looking for someone. She finds this seemingly old man sitting in a chair in an attic.
Half dead grandpa.
He looks like he's dead.
He does.
I thought he was dead.
Yeah, he does. He looks dead. I guess the actor, it took like, 26 hours to get the makeup on.
So I thought he was dead. And then she's like at his lap, like, help me, help me. She doesn't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then she turns and she sees another body that looks like a decomposed woman.
Yes, yes.
And obviously she's upset by this.
Yeah.
And then Leatherface meets her up there. He's coming up the stairs, right?
Yeah, because she tries to run down the stairs.
Yeah. And Sally yeets herself out the window, as one does. Because what else are you going to do?
We always talk about that.
Yeah.
Just gotta go, man. You gotta jump out that window.
Yeah. And now we are back to a chase through the woods again.
So before we keep going, I do want to say when she runs inside the house, she slams the door on Leatherface, and Leatherface starts chainsawing the door and cutting huge lines in the door, which we'll circle back to the reason I wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
I'm
curious now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Sally ends up getting clotheslined by a tree branch, pretty much. So there's there's a moment where you think he's gonna get her, but she gets away. However, Leatherface is much closer now. Like, he's in arm's reach.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
She's running. She's screaming. Her scream is so intense. Her eyes are so intense. She's such a great final girl.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she gets to that store, the gas station.
The gas station, yeah.
She bursts in the door, and she is met by the old man. He's credited as the old man or the cook.
The cook, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same guy from earlier who told them, they were out of gas. And she's like, we have to call the police. And he's like, okay, don't worry. Like, we're going to have to drive over to Childress, which I'm assuming is another town. And I'll get the truck. Wait right here.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a phone.
Right, of course. Doesn't have gas, doesn't have a phone. Like, bitch, what are you doing here at this store?
And when he opens up the door to like go get his truck, he just leaves the front door wide open. Mm-hmm. And again, it's kind of like Sally's POV. Like, you're looking out the door and you're just waiting.
There's a moment, it just lingers.
Yeah.
She's looking around. We hear the radio again in the background saying some disturbing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the grave robbing. They're talking about the grave robbing again.
She notices the barbecue pit. It like zooms in on the barbecue pit. She's shaking, by the way.
Yeah.
She's so disturbed. She's so scared.
Yeah.
And so the old man comes back, walks in the door holding a sack and a rope.
I would like the fear.
I don't even want to fathom what that would even feel like.
Like the fear of God.
Your stomach dropping would be an understatement.
No, for sure. And she grabs a knife. Mm-hmm. She tries to like hit him, but he ends up hitting her with what looks like a broom. Apparently that stick he uses, because he starts beating her with the stick.
Oh, yeah.
He's whacking her with the stick. And the actor, he talks about how he was really uncomfortable with this at first. But eventually, you know, they got him comfortable doing it. And at first it was a real stick. Then they got a dummy stick, but
Okay.
it still had a metal pipe running through it.
Oh.
So Marilyn Burns was covered in bruises. Like
Oh.
she had, because I guess when he was hitting her, it didn't look real enough. So he had to actually start hitting her with it, and she was getting bruised the fuck up during this scene.
You know what they should have used? Kendo stick.
I know. Oh, kendo sticks hurt like hell, dude. Are you kidding me?
I almost started coughing.
Oh my God. Kendo sticks hurt like hell.
If they're gimmicks properly, they expand, and they sting a little bit, but they're not going to leave bruises. I mean, maybe they will, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I've never gotten if anything, I'll get like a mark, but not a bruise.
I just remember I whacked you real hard with a kendo stick once.
Oh, your kendo stick was like your weapon of choice at one point in TNA.
Do you remember they just handed me a kendo stick and they were like, here, this is your weapon now?
You use this now.
Yeah. And I was like, well, all right.
I love a kendo stick.
No, I do too. I do too.
But anyway.
But yeah, so she tries to fight him off, but he does. He's hitting her with the stick. And I also wanted to say that almost every single person involved in this film got injured in some way, whether it was bruises, cuts, scrapes, burns. It was a very, very trying shoot. So
They were going through it.
Yeah, they're going through it. But he eventually kind of knocks her out, and he ties her up. He gags her. He covers her head with a sack, and he tosses her into his truck.
It is so frustrating to me that she had a knife and got disarmed in a silly way by a fucking broom.
I know, but when you think about like the shock that you're in, like you wouldn't even have I don't even know that you would be able to have a good handle on it because you're shaking, you're scared. Like,
it's very true.
She does such a good job of being so convincing.
Yeah, that's very true. And also, the old man's demeanor has completely changed here. So when we first see him, he's kind of like meek and like polite, and now he's like bumbling and grotesque and just like, you know?
He is. And it's also interesting because like the character of the cook, he goes back and forth being sort of
sympathetic in a way.
Sympathetic. Like he's not totally sold on what's happening, but he also knows that like I just think they did an interesting job presenting his character, because obviously he's horrible. But you see in scenes later on, especially the dinner scene, he doesn't want to kill.
Yeah.
It's sort of he's uncomfortable with the morality of the whole thing.
Yeah, his morality is very twisted.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, she's in the sack on the floor in his truck. The whole drive to the house is so disturbing to me. He's like poking her and hitting her with the broom or whatever the fuck that is.
This scene really stuck with me.
Me too.
It's the sounds that she's making while he's like jamming her with this stick. You don't see it happen, but you see him doing it. You see the motion he's making, and he's like laughing.
He's laughing. He's smiling.
I just want to punch him in the fucking throat. It makes me so angry.
Oh, he's the absolute fucking worst. And also, it's like they're not looking at them as people. Mm-hmm. They're looking them at it as food, as cattle, as like he doesn't look at her as a person at all.
Right.
It's so disturbing.
Yep. And so while they get to the house, the old man sees the hitchhiker in the road.
Yes.
And
he's pissed.
He is really mad at him.
Yes, he's mad. He's pissed that he was at the cemetery robbing graves, almost got them caught. He starts hitting him with the broom.
Yeah. So here you realize that they know each other, and that it seems like the old man is probably the leader in this situation.
Maybe the uncle, maybe he's somehow higher in the hierarchy. He's a little bit higher up than Hitchhiker. But he's really pissed that the Hitchhiker left Leatherface alone.
Yes.
Because shit could have got really bad.
And he does say, I told you to never leave your brother alone. So Hitchhiker and Leatherface are brothers.
Yes. And I would think it's fair to assume that these are inbred people.
Yeah. I think they go deeper into that in like the sequels, but they don't really say that here yet. But yeah, you can kind of put it together.
Yeah. They definitely seem like they are cousins and brothers and who knows what else.
Yeah. So this is the dinner that Hitchhiker was inviting the kids to earlier. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh.
Wait.
I feel like you're going to say, yes, go ahead.
Okay, before they're in dinner, when they're going through the front door, the reason I brought up Leatherface scratching up the door with the chainsaw is because as they're going in the house, Cook is like pissed that Leatherface cut up the door. He's like, look what he did to the door.
It is so funny. I wrote it down.
Improvised line.
Look what your brother did to the door. I'm like, wait.
Improvised line.
You live in a literal dump, sir. Like, are you worried about this door?
It adds some comedy to
I
a
know.
really, really dark, disturbing scene.
It might be the only levity in this movie.
I know, right? I love that. I just love the line.
Yeah,
The absurdity of it.
I know. So they end up tying Sally to a chair that has human arms, by the way. Like, not even bones, like actual human hands and all the way up to like the elbow as the arms of the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And old man says to Leatherface, did you let any of them get away? And he's threatening him with the stick that he has. And now Leatherface, who is a gigantic man, way bigger than old man, is hunched over. He's making himself smaller.
Yeah, he's also like dressed like he's got like an old lady wig on.
Oh yeah, he changed.
Because now he's the homemaker. He's like making the dinner and like helping, like, yeah.
He also has either changed his mask or he has put makeup on this mask.
Yeah, so he does have makeup on this mask. He's going to then change into a suit, and he has even more makeup on.
Yeah, so it's process, you know?
Yes, and there's actually a deleted scene of Leatherface pounding on the makeup.
Oh, I want to see that.
Yeah, so if you see when he's the old lady / homemaker, he is wearing a little bit of makeup. When he comes downstairs in his suit, he's wearing a ton of makeup. And there's actually a scene of him putting like blush and lipstick on and shit.
I want to see that. Do you remember like in they might still do it, but in old magazines, like my grandma used to always get Woman's World magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And it would be like going from your daytime look to your evening look.
I don't think I've ever had to go from a daytime to an evening look.
Yeah, like, oh, I just left the office and now I'm going to go out for a nice
I'm
dinner.
going to
and
take
I'm
my
gonna
hair out and put on some rouge.
a little more smoky eye for the evening. Oh my gosh, that's what he's doing.
For sure, yeah.
So Leatherface here is also only speaking in either one or two words or sounds at a time. And it's way more high pitched than I expected it
He's
to
like
be.
squeaking.
So that's kind of like what you were talking about earlier. So it almost sounded for a moment like he was imitating a monkey.
I think it's supposed to be like a pig.
He's trying to squeal like a pig, and that's probably why the director was like, you know what? It's not really working.
Yeah, and I think he was going to actually have his own gibberish language, and they cut that.
I don't know that I could do that. That would be so hard. To make something up, you're just going to end up speaking the languages you know, I think.
No, I think so too. And also, like, I think Leatherface is scarier by not talking.
I agree.
You know?
Especially,
but you do feel, it's so weird, but you feel sadness for him in a way.
Yeah, because he's clearly being abused.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And yeah, I agree with him not speaking, especially if he's going to speak in squeaks. I think he should just not talk.
Yeah, poor Leatherface.
I know. So now Leatherface and Hitchhiker are carrying that old man from earlier.
Oh yeah, they're like, go get Grandpa.
Grandpa, yeah. I'm not going to call him old man because there is someone that is credited as old man.
Yeah, he's Grandpa.
So he's Grandpa. They're carrying Grandpa down from the attic, who is not moving, and he still looks dead to me.
You know, he looks like a fucking corpse. And I guess like there's an outtake of Gunnar Hansen and what is the hitchhiker's shoot name? Let's look it up. Edwin Neal going upstairs to get Grandpa. Okay. And I guess one of them was whoever was holding him backwards was going too fast. So the guy holding up the other side of the chair started to tip forward, and Grandpa, like they didn't yell cut. So the actor playing Grandpa just like sat there, and then just slowly he started sliding down.
Like playing dead?
Just off the chair because he's supposed to be dead. And I guess like they just kept shooting. And then all of a sudden, all three of them just started pissing themselves laughing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They're just cracking the fuck up.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're trying to bring Grandpa to the dinner table. And this is where you already mentioned Leatherface has changed into the homemaker.
Yeah, it's isn't he dressed up in his little suit now? He's taking this dinner very seriously.
I don't remember if he's in the suit yet, but he for sure has the makeup on and the old lady wig. I don't know what he's wearing here, but they force one of Sally's arms out of her restraints, and they cut her finger here. And they put it in Grandpa's mouth, and he starts sucking on her finger.
It's so nasty.
So disgusting.
The sounds.
And also I wrote, this motherfucker is alive.
Yep.
Which I was not expecting.
Yep.
And like her facial expressions here, she's screaming. This old man is sucking on her finger. It's so gross.
Yeah, I guess the direction for that was make it It was, you know how when babies are like nursing, that's what we want you to do to his finger or to her finger.
Ew.
And I mean, when you think of it, like, ew, like he's like slurping and shit. It's fucking nasty, man.
I will tell you, there is so much screaming for like the next 10 minutes straight at least. It can be very hard to watch, especially when she's gagged and she's making noises.
It's hard to watch.
It's
yeah.
hard to watch.
Yeah.
And it's like
And they keep doing like her eyes are like super wide and shocked, and it's
and this scene is very drawn out.
for sure.
So eventually Sally passes out. She comes to, immediately starts screaming again because of course. And the four of them are sitting at the dinner table and
Imagine like waking up thinking you're waking up from a nightmare, and it turns out you're actually strapped to a chair at the Sawyer's house. Like,
and the Sawyers are all laughing and screaming back at her.
dude.
And then
There's-
finally,
There's like a plate in front of her.
yeah.
I guess like all the food. So the house was like 100 degrees. They had to have tarps over the house because it was light outside and they needed it to be dark. So all in all, it was like 115 degrees inside that house. They're shooting for roughly 26 to 36 hours, depending on who you ask on
Yeah.
the cast. The food is real. It's rotting. They're injecting it with, I want to say formaldehyde, so it doesn't explode. There's
explode?
yeah, probably from the heat, maybe. I'm
Oh
not
my
really sure. I
gosh.
don't know the science behind it, but that house, that scene, when I say stunk, it apparently was so god awful. Everybody was miserable. Everyone hated each other by this point because everyone is just exhausted, hot,
Yeah.
stinky. There's dead corpses. They had real dead animals. There was real dead body part. I mean,
And Marilyn Burns, her throat must have been
dying.
scratched to hell.
And I don't know if they had throat coat back then, man.
Hopefully they had a lozenge at the very least.
So yeah, so think about that as as an actor,
Like they
and
were
and you've got the full crew in there.
yeah.
So that's a lot of people
More
inside of like an
bodies.
old, and it's not a set. This is like an old shitty house in Texas.
So they were feeling what they were portraying on screen.
No,
really.
that's what a lot of them say. That it was easy to get to that emotion because they were all there already.
Ugh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Hitchhiker is now telling Sally, the lore of the family, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling her that, oh, this is just the cook. Talking about old man.
Oh my God, the old man calls him he's like, shut your mouth, you hog, or something.
Yeah. He says, shut up, you old bitch hog. That's what he says. He does not like being called just the cook. But we do find out that cook or old man, he doesn't want to do the killing like we mentioned earlier. Hitchhiker is like, me and Leatherface do all the work. Okay. And old man is like, I don't take no pleasure in killing. And I'm like, okay, just torturing. You that's where you draw the line.
This is where Leatherface is in his beautiful suit. He's got a lot more eyeshadow and blush and lipstick on because this is a dinner party.
Yeah, of course.
It's a dinner
And
party.
old man is here. At this point, he's like, no need to torture the poor girl. Like, he just wants them to kill her. Just kill her already.
Yeah.
Like, you were just prodding her with a fucking stick, you sociopath.
No, 100%. Hitchhiker seems like he's much more into torturing her. I think he gets off on messing with people. And Leatherface, to me, seems intrigued by her. Like, he seems interested. Like, he's trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah, and they're like, Grandpa, we're going to let you have this one.
Oh, I don't know what it is about this scene, but it is so unsettling to me. Like when Grandpa rolls up on his little like rocking chair, whatever the hell he's in, and Leatherface is, oh God. Okay, so they take Sally and there's a bucket in front of her, like a big bucket.
Yeah.
They grab her by the head and they lean her over the bucket. Grandpa is sitting across from her and Leatherface is trying to give the sledgehammer to Grandpa so that Grandpa can whack her over the head. Except Grandpa is clearly almost dead and he can't hold the hammer.
He keeps dropping it. This scene is chaotic because the entire time everyone is yelling.
Yeah.
Sally is screaming. The old man is yelling, get her, Grandpa, get her, Grandpa. Grandpa's dropping the hammer.
Yep.
Leatherface and Hitchhiker are fumbling, trying to get Grandpa to hold the hammer. So literally everyone in this scene is on 10.
No, 100%. And Leatherface at one point, he sort of just like kind of gives up on the whole thing and like really is like helping Grandpa hit her. And he does hit her.
He does hit
gets
her
in
once,
the head.
and she starts bleeding. At some point, the old man is like, Grandpa's the best. It only takes 1 or 2 licks. And so this is kind of alluding back to what Hitchhiker was saying about, no, I like the old school method of killing the cattle with the hammer.
Exactly. Yep.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they actually killed her, it would be hard to watch this scene even more because it feels like torture.
Yeah, and it's really long and drawn out.
Yes.
It's this whole third act is, there's a lot of like really drawn out, like tension building scenes that then cultivate to this, where it's like, you know, Sally's sitting at that table. You know what's coming is going to be awful.
Yep.
But this is next level awful to me.
Yeah. And in all this bumbling and fumbling, Sally manages to hit one of them and she just kind of breaks free and she's able to escape.
She does. She jumps out the fucking window.
Another window.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Get me the fuck out of here. She's bleeding from the head. It's now going all down her face, down her clothes.
Yep. She's kind of like stumbling down the driveway. And in the distance, we hear the chainsaw being revved.
Hitchhiker's trying to get her at this point too.
Yes, he comes after her. And I guess in the script it said like, you know, Hitchhiker chases Sally or Hitchhiker or whatever. And he improvised and he suggested that he should be using a knife and he should be trying to like get her. And he is. He's cutting her up as he's chasing after her.
Yeah, with that straight razor from earlier. He's just swiping at her back and she's screaming. He said that it was his idea to, quote, cut her to ribbons.
Yeah, dude. Yep.
So while this is happening, they're running down the street, okay, to this dirt road. And Sally kind of gets out of the way and a fucking semi-truck smokes Hitchhiker.
Just takes him right the fuck out.
I was like, thank goodness.
Dude. And so, okay, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, they show him get run over and it was so funny to me. Also, I was like so over Hitchhiker at this point. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But it looked good.
Dude,
The stunt looked good.
It looked really good. And so I guess when they shot this, it was obviously, it's Texas. It's super, super hot, okay? And he is on asphalt. Is that what it's called? Asphalt?
Asphalt?
Yeah. He had to lay on this asphalt.
And it's like burning him.
It's burning his skin. They propped a rock underneath his jaw to make it look like his jaw was broken.
Oh.
And he literally could smell his skin burning on the pavement. And he says, like, I was too young to advocate for myself. I didn't realize that I could say no. He's like, and I guess like a cloud was going overhead. So it changed the lighting. So they had to wait for this cloud to pass over the sun while he's just melting and burning and dying in the heat. And the scene was cut. It wasn't even in the
I was going to say, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Got burned for nothing.
Dude.
Oh my God.
I know, isn't that wild?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So the truck driver does stop. So he's like, what the fuck was that? He gets out. He saves Sally. Okay. He pulls her in through the driver door. They go out the passenger door as Leatherface is trying to chase them.
Yeah.
With the chainsaw. And so the driver grabs a wrench on his way out.
Yep.
And while they're running away, he turns around, he chucks it at Leatherface's head, and it hits him right in the face.
Yep.
Leatherface falls to his back, and the chainsaw falls onto his leg and cuts it.
Yes. Do you want to hear how they did that?
I sure do.
Okay. So originally, they were going to have a crew member off camera use the chainsaw on Gunner's leg, who he had a little device, I don't know if you'd call it that, a strap on his leg.
Oh, the metal sheath.
There was a metal sheath, and then it was covered in like 2 or 3 layers of leather or something like that. And it was underneath his pants. So originally they were going to have a crew member do it off camera, and Gunnar Hansen was like, no, I'm going to do it myself. And he said originally there wasn't going to be teeth on the chainsaw, but when they tried to do it, the chainsaw wouldn't go through, right? So they were like, shit, they add the teeth to the chainsaw, okay? He said, action, he goes through. He said that chainsaw cut so fast through his clothes, through the 2 or 3 layers of leather, and hit the metal sheath. And when it did, the metal sheath got so hot. He said it didn't burn him, but he felt that heat. And I guess he mistaken, I think, the heat for actually cutting himself.
Yeah.
And so when he pulled the chainsaw back, he thought that he had cut through into his flesh with that chainsaw.
Yeah. the heat in addition to the blood bag that was in there and like the
Dude.
meat. So like I can only imagine the fear of, oh my gosh, I just cut my own fucking leg.
Dude, so scary.
But he didn't.
He did not. And I mean, he was a real trooper for doing that, man.
Yeah. So speaking of chainsaws, I of course had to look into, I'm like, if you let go of a chainsaw, if you let go of the, I think it's the throttle, it should stop. So really in the movie, for the movie's sake, when he lets go of that chainsaw, it falls on his leg. Like, yeah, sure, maybe if it hits you hard enough, it'll cut. And maybe when the blade is slowing down, it still might cut a little bit. But I looked up, like even in the 70s, really when you're letting go of that the clutch, then the chainsaw should be stopping. So
do you think he he fastened a device to it
you
to
know
make
what?
it? I don't know.
I was gonna say it's Leatherface. So if you modify it,
maybe
it's modified.
Or it's just Hollywood.
I know, but I'm always curious about those things. You know?
Yeah.
Just from actually using like chainsaws.
Oh yeah,
or lawnmowers
for our photo shoot, we had big old chainsaws.
They smell. Yeah. They smell like what gasoline, kerosene, whatever they use. But yeah. So anyway, the driver runs off. Thank goodness he survives.
Yeah, but like, where are you going, man?
I know. Where are you running?
Like Leatherface is still there, and you're on a big old dirt road.
Maybe he got back in his truck and drove away. His truck still works.
Didn't it look like he ran the other way?
I know it did. So yeah, I don't know.
God bless you, sir. I hope you made it.
I hope you made it. Yeah, for real. So at this time, a different truck, like a little pickup truck, pulls up. Sally jumps in the back. I have a little fan theory about this.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a real theory.
Yeah, let's hear it.
But I just think it's fun to think about. Because here, Sally jumps in the back. Leatherface is right there by the bed of the truck, and then the truck drives away. Okay?
Yes. And she's like laughing. She's screaming and laughing, man. It's crazy.
Yes. And I mean, we can talk about the ending scene and then I'll get into my fan theory because we're almost to the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's maniacal at this point. I'm so glad the truck, I don't know what I think they would have done otherwise.
Yeah.
But like imagine a bloody person jumps in the bed of your truck and I guess, yeah, you don't want to get out. So they just drive away.
Yeah.
And maybe they could tell she was running from him.
Sure, yeah.
But Leatherface here, he starts spinning in a circle and like wielding his chainsaw up in the air. Honestly, it looked like he was dancing to me.
He was dancing.
Okay.
Like Gunnar Hansen made the choice.
Okay, because I wrote, like, I really want to put a clip of this on Instagram and dub it over with like, I just imagine like Chandelier by Sia. Like he's just like vibing, like, yes. And that is the end of the movie. It's such an iconic scene with Sally driving away covered in blood and Leatherface just like, oh.
Yeah, and I guess they did. They told him to whatever. Like,
they wanted him to dance?
No, that was his choice.
Okay.
Because he said, he was like, it just didn't look like anything.
Yeah.
And so he just started to sort of swing it around and like kind of dance a little bit. And it just ended up working.
Okay, so when I think of Leatherface, did this happen in later movies? I don't know if you know the answer, but I think of Leatherface having the chainsaw like this and doing this.
Part 2.
That came later?
Definitely part 2. I think he does that. Yeah. Yeah. Because in part 2, part 2 is more campy.
Yeah.
Right? And actually it was directed by Tobe Hooper as well.
Okay.
But yeah, Leatherface is more flamboyant, would you say?
Yeah.
Like he's more like showboaty.
Yeah. So my fan theory is, because I feel like Leatherface got really close to Sally in the end in the bed of that truck. And I feel like he could have just reached out and killed her if he wanted to. And a part of me wonders if Leatherface wanted to let her go. You know, he's being manipulated by his family. He doesn't want to do this anyway, but really he has like a good heart. And he was like, I'm going to let you go. And then he was dancing in the street because he was so happy she got away.
I mean, I love the lifetime spin that you're putting on it.
That's like a random rabbit hole theory.
That's a heartwarming theory.
Yeah, I don't think the sequels really live up to that at all. But if we're just going off the original, that's what I think.
I love it. I think Leatherface doesn't have the capacity to be that
thoughtful.
Yeah, or even have any foresight. I think he just is told to do stuff and does it. But I love that you've come up with this very Hallmark ending. It's so cute. So this film was located. Well, there were several scenes of the film located in Bastrop, Texas.
Okay.
And that's where the house is. And I guess that's where the gas station is. And it's now like a horror-themed Texas barbecue restaurant and motel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, and the rest of it was filmed. There's a lot of it filmed in Round Rock, Texas, in a 1990s farmhouse.
Wow. I'm looking at my notes and I realize I think I said most of my fun facts during the episode.
I feel like you had so many.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like you have so many all the time. I feel like we have so many for this
Oh my
episode.
God. I love your research. It's the best.
Thanks. I did read or I heard the actor that played the grandpa say that he had to sit in 7 hours of makeup to become the grandpa. They had like different masks made for him. And like, yeah, he mentions 26 hours of shooting at one point and it being Texas in July.
Really, really hot. Yeah. Really, really hot. I think it was a really tough shoot. I think it was a really tough shoot.
I think that's putting it lightly. That's what it sounds like based on everyone we've heard talk about it.
Yeah, I guess like there was like 2 or 3 rap parties where people were sort of in their own cliques. Like
Okay.
I just think it ended up being really tough, which makes sense. It was low budget. It was hot. These are young actors. I think it was really tough.
And this tough movie resulted in a horror icon being born in Leatherface.
Yeah, for sure. I think it changed the genre.
Oh, for sure.
It definitely, I think, is like the birth of modern day slashers.
Yeah, and
Would you say?
So many movies have been inspired now by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for sure.
Oh my God.
And Leatherface.
1,000,000%, yes.
Yeah.
It's so influential. And it's one of those movies I think that always kind of disturbs me. Like I think when I think of like Friday the 13th, even when I think of Halloween or whatever, those characters are, they're kind of campy at times, right? Like they're not really, I think Michael's probably the scariest one. But the idea of being in the middle of the middle of nowhere and stumbling upon a house and it just being a family of like inbred psychopaths is so scary because it feels like it could be real.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like Jason and Michael and Freddy, they don't feel real, but like this does feel real to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Leatherface is scary.
For sure. And I feel like compared to
because you can't reason with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, man, it freaks me out. What were you going to say?
I feel like compared to like Freddy and Jason and Chucky, I feel like he's like underrated. I hate using the term underrated because that's an opinion anyway. But I feel like Leatherface is such an icon, and I agree with what you're saying because it feels way more real. Like this could really happen. You could really run into this guy.
Yeah, and you would be, just fucked.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do?
Die.
It's scary.
Just die.
And like, and obviously in the later films, it becomes a lot more graphic.
Yeah.
Especially, I want to say, like the 2003, they do a lot of like, ripping the fingernails off and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't personally think you need to see all that for it to be effective. And I think the original Texas Chainsaw makes that very clear,
Absolutely.
Like you don't have to show to get the point across.
For sure.
So
let us know what you think. I want to know what your favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is. There are 9 of them. We're going to talk a little bit more about them in the extended episode on Patreon right after this, immediately after this. But I'm curious what you have to say. So let us know, especially in the YouTube comments. We love reading our YouTube comments. We are at Chainsaw Pod. I know our YouTube at Chainsaw Girls Pod. That is also our Instagram and our TikTok. You can write us an email at chainsawgirlspod@gmail.com. Definitely check out our Patreon if you want. You can follow it for free. And we also have different tiers that you can sign up to. We do extended episodes, bonus episodes, a bunch of fun stuff on there.
Yes, we also have a brand new t-shirt,
Yeah.
which is very exciting. We have our own, I was supposed to say Texas Chainsaw t-shirt. We have our own Chainsaw Girl t-shirt.
Should we make one? We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Go ahead. I was going to say demonxbunny.com is the t-shirt. It's going to be linked in the YouTube video and the show notes of the podcast. We're almost to the end of this. We got it.
We're going to shout out our top tier patrons.
Yes.
Here we go. Jonathan W., Rob V., I would like to, David T., Heather D.,
I was going to say, don't look at what I'm doing.
Franchise Driller, Josh N., Millie C., Adrian G., Chris S., Alexis T, Adam VL, and James C. Thank you so much for being our top tier patrons. Thanks for supporting the podcast. If you guys haven't given us a 5-star review, please do that. It does help our podcast grow.
Okay, bye.